All right, so this is I'm trying to try something new with this whole reviewing. And of course, we have the flag for the Nipsey Hussle. That's his newest album, and it have been 5 years in the waiting. Nipsey Hussle, he been on the hustle game when it comes to mixtapes. Of course, he was on that whole Fuck Donald Trump remix, and he is a famous West Coast gangster, of course, everything. And he even called out Cardi B, for a little bit of clout, whatever. And he been hustling hard for all these years. And of course, I'm about to review his whole new mixtape, Victory. So, the title kind of reminds me of DJ Khaled. He had a album called Victory a few years ago. I don't know if any of y'all knew that or whatever. I copped it a little bit. But you know what? Let's get into the review. Now, I knew that some significance had to been thought of when he decided to put his release date for the same release date for Black Panther. And yes, there's an overall trending black theme in this album, of course, that I have to point out. And also the all black, shot of him in a black car with a black background. And of course, his letters in red representing the blood gang, shit like that. And of course, that's what it is. So let's just get into the track listing and the themes of this overall album. And the theme of this album is the black struggle and maybe even black unity through gang affiliations. You have on a song like Last Time where he literally admits saying that everyone wants to act pro-black. Probably some type of Boyce Watkins like hit, or maybe a Umar Johnson. I don't know. Maybe he just sees the people on fucking people that Madhead calls out, and he wanted to make that criticism, as well as pointing out that all these so-called leaders are not really doing shit for the hood. Hell, on a song like Dedication, which features Kendrick Lamar, who was on the Black Panther a soundtrack that I reviewed a little while ago, he talks about a young black kid who knows he's smart, but he can't claim it because he has no outlet to show how smart he is. And in detail, he does that. And Kendrick Lamar explains or even goes with the theme, saying of how he got his grandmother shot and how overall he was a good kid, maybe even tying back to his whole album, Good Kid, Mad City. On a song like Millions, he calls out the whole house slave and field slave shit that have been a running theme throughout like all slavery history. You would have the house slave and the field slave and shit like that, which is a pretty cool thing to even call out. Hell, on a song like Double Up, you have him mentioning John Coltrane. And John Coltrane had this song or album called Live at Bird, which was a pretty good album. Live at Birdland or whatever. And I don't know if they knew this or not, but there's a sample in the background of the whole beat that actually samples birds, which I thought that was a very nice, slight little nod. And also he mentions like Soul Train, which, Don Cornelius, he was a guy who was into heavy black empowerment, which was a pretty cool thing to have. On a song like Real Big, you even have him saying, don't trust a pale face, a reference to white people. But then he says something like, I can tell you about a failed race, which could be a reference to black people or Hispanics, Latinos, or maybe poor whites who lived in this neighborhood and had to hustle. So it goes either way. He's showing criticism for each category or race or whatever. So, hey, but you know what? He admits that he was raised with type of maybe this bigotry mentality in his neighborhood. But also he could also be acknowledging that that's why they fail in their neighborhood because they're such, have this whole mindset. So that's something that also should be mentioned. On a song like Grind All Day, he says that he's a self-made man, so he designed himself, which was pretty cool. But it also had this really, really cringy line where he says that police are on his dick, so he's about to bust and shoot or puss and shoot, or some somewhat hetero-erotic type of shit like that. I wasn't really feeling that shit. Like, oh man. On a song like Key to the City, he mentions that he could speak Swahili to a girl, which, Swahili is a big language in Africa, which is pretty cool. And on a song like Status Symbol 3, you have him having this whole reggae vibe to it, especially on the hook, where you have somebody speaking patois, which is, of course, another black language, which is pretty cool. On a song like Hustle and Motivate, you of course have him doing this, sampling this beat that I swear sound like the Hard Knock Life beat. If you actually listen to it close, I'm like, wow, you know. But it could be also a reference to Jay-Z and how he was a hustler. And and yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, Oh yeah, speaking of Jay-Z, the guy on the hook low key sounds kind of like a Frank Ocean. Like I'm not saying it's Frank Ocean, but it sounds like Frank Ocean, the discount version. Like if you listen to his voice, I'm like, wow. On Blue Laces too, wow, there's a lot of sequels and shit like that. Like he has trilogies of songs on this shit. But on Blue Laces too, you have him saying that he's a third generation gangbanger, which is wow, and that he was in a altercation where he had to shoot 20 people on the beach. Like this guy ain't fucking around. All right, now let's get to what I like to call the nigga song. So you have Rap Nigga, where he says that he's not like these rap niggas, except he used the idea of rhyming the word nigga with itself multiple times, which kind of makes him like these rap niggas, because I seen like Rich Homie Quan do this shit with my nigga. I seen a whole bunch of rappers do that shit. So kind of make you sound like them a little bit. But you know what? He has this funny line where he says that if he quits smoking, then he'll relapse, nigga, which is a pretty funny line, I have to say. And he also has this funny line where he says the streets are talking. Now that's a rat, nigga, which was fucking hilarious. Like, I never seen somebody put it like that. And he says that he owns all his masters, which is pretty cool. And of course, you have a song like Young Nigga where P. Diddy is not doing shit on there, really just wasting our time. He shouldn't even be counted as a feature. You have so many uncredited fucking people working on this album. How come you get to credit him? But whatever. And also on Young Nigga, he says he owns his own masters, which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, and on the song Bases, he has this little witty line where he says that he has sharks on the table, but none of them bait him, which is pretty cool. And the ending track, Right Hand, I think it has like beautiful horns on it. And also he says he's as famous as CeeLo, which is pretty cool because he has CeeLo on the album. And he says he's trying to shine a light on his people, which is something he did on this album. Now, personally, I think this album is a little bit too long and has like two or three unnecessary songs. And I wish he focused more on the whole black aspect of the album, since he released this on the same day of Black Panther. But overall, a pretty good album. And I'm going to give this album a 6 out of 10. Like, pretty nice album. It was kind of worth the wait. I kind of wish he did more of a story themes like he did on that Dedication. But hey, is his album. Now, please like, subscribe, share the channel, and tell me how you like this whole background where I have the whole fucking little flag waving. Like, you think that's cool? Like, I'm out, guys. But